Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 571, and today we're doing battle with the Pirates. And so, the Pirates, what is dead may never die. This deck has been around since the Rising Tides, hasn't gone away since. And you have some metas to where it's the best deck in the game, you have some metas to where it's borderline unplayable, and in this current meta, I think the deck is a little bit closer to borderline unplayable than the best deck ever, but in realisticness, I think it's probably closer to mid than bad. And so a lot of people out there really like to aggro. There's a lot of flavors of this deck that you can really bring forth. Gangplank was just brought back into the format. We saw some new Noxon cards in Arena's Greatest and Blighted Battle Axe. And so the Pirates definitely have a lot of tools at their disposal, and it is very easy to build this deck poorly. And so the things that I've really tried to focus on within this version of Pirates are going to be units with 2 health and then units with Fearsome. And so the reason that we're looking to do that is within our deck itself, it's very important to have targets for both Imperial Demolitionist and for Vladimir, right? So we want to be able to put a unit on the board, be able to deal a point of damage to it, and then have that unit not die. So that's why you're going to see cards like Elegant Edge and Jagged Butcher, but smaller copies of cards like Precious Pet. Precious Pet is not able to take a hit from Vladimir, so we can't get full usage out of the cards within our deck. Otherwise, the other big thing we're looking for is the Fearsomes. What we're going to be looking to pull off in a lot of these games is either playing a Blighted Battle Axe on turn 2, or playing an Arena's Greatest on turn 1 or turn 2. And so what you can find depending on your unit selection is if we do have this draw to where we say put Jagged Butcher on the board on turn 1, load him up with the Blighted Battle Axe on turn 2, it's very easy for your opponent to be like, cool, block with Omen Hawk, right? And then your game is pretty much over at that point. You lose that game the vast majority of the time. Whenever you go Jagged Butcher into Blighted Battle Axe and your opponent goes, cool, block with Omen Hawk, right? And so we're looking to take advantage of these fearsome units to help us push through the damage regardless of what the opponent's early game is. So the Elegant Edge is doing double duty here, having fearsome and having 2 health, and then the Precious Pets are kind of our backup plan in terms of punching through with this early game strength. Otherwise, much to that same idea, I think it's very important to have a bit of interactivity in shutting down our opposing units, be it something like a blocking Badger Bear or a Morgana that we just don't really want to run into. So we do have a handful of stuns with the 2 copies of Pirouette and the 1 copy of Arachnoid Sentry. And then we have that kind of get out of combat free answer with the Nox and Fervor to hopefully finish off our opponent and not get engaged with a big lifesteal style play. And so that's it. That's our current version of Pirates. Let's go ahead and jump on in, see if we can't get ourselves a good game or two. And so, yeah, it's tough with Pirates. I mean, there are a lot of options that you can build the deck with these days. It takes a bit of finessing in terms of getting the right numbers and the right style of units out here to be able to do things effectively with. And so let's see how it goes. So up against Gwen Illaoi, we're just going to look for a blazing fast start. This is the type of deck that we should be good against, right? I'm not entirely certain what we're going to be seeing out of Gwen Illaoi, but Illaoi decks in general tend to be go tall style of decks, and we tend to be able to attack around all of their units, right? And so if you play a spawn card on turn 1 and a spawn card on turn 2 and a spawn card on turn 3, you tend to just have one unit on the board that we can completely attack around. And so we might be finding ourselves in a bit of a good spot here in this match. Let's see a Tentacle Slam come down. Ooh, Tidal Invocation, much worse, much worse. You all remember when Vile Feast was a card? the bane of aggro decks everywhere, the old Vile Feast rolling through. I remember those days. Now here, this is a slightly awkward point. We have a couple of options, like we can just open attack, which may get some damage in, but are we really excited about getting a Jagged Butcher just at that point? And then looking towards the future, we're wanting to play the Razor Mace on 4 and the Vladimir on 5, and so if we do go for the Jagged Butcher, we're just not going to be able to play the Sentry or the Nox and Fervor anytime soon. So it's a bit of a bummer. I think I'm still just going to go for it. Like, he's not going to be super excited to give up his Tentacle here. And if he does, I think it's just okay. It's not the end of the world to have our block get shut down. We can potentially save our Arachnoid Sentry for a little bit later. In terms of, you know, putting a stun down on an Illaoi so she can't come in and attack. That might be on the table, but I think we're looking to just go for the good units here. At least getting the Jagged Butcher on board and then the Razor Mace on board next turn should leave us in a spot to where we can get a fairly decent Vladimir. Right, as it stands, we can ping a unit for 2 damage, and then we can drain for 2 damage, and so we should be able to get this flipped Vladimir on the next attack. So we're gonna target down the tentacle, try and get that unit off of the board. To the best of my knowledge, there's no like burst speed tentacle boosts. He could have another drain spell, but that wouldn't be enough to grow his unit out of the way. All right, so let's line up everybody to the right of Vladimir. Why aren't you doing this right? Oh, he doesn't do that fucking drain thing anymore? I've been playing this day for a day and a half, and I didn't realize that he doesn't do the drain thing anymore. It's just on level 2, isn't it? Yeah, for my each attacking ally to my right, deal 1 to the left. Okay, all right. Make me look like a dum-dum. Who plays Vladimirs anyways, am I right? Alright, not a bad round though. Vladimir survives the turn. Gwen is very close to death. We got the Ichor in hand to drain in a little bit of damage. If you're not familiar with Ichor, this does not count as us dealing damage. Ichor is like the curse is the opponent dealing damage to themselves. And so as we would like to get a plunder this turn, that's not how it works. Ichor does not activate plunder, so you got to be a little bit careful of that if that was a part of your game plan. Fucking Vladimir, though, am I right? No wonder nobody likes this guy. But let's just come in and spend as much mana as we can. We're definitely going to be playing Arachnoid Sentry next turn. We might as well just drop the Elegant Edge, I think. Maybe not. I mean, maybe we find ourselves in a place to where we do want to Nox and Fervor directly to face before we get into combat, but I worry that we're just gonna like draw a card that we want to play and then just not have enough mana to do everything we want. We really need to be playing all of our cards on this next turn. Yeah, that's a bummer. Got a cat howling at me. Pepper's in here howling. I don't know how to handle this now. I've got this standing desk, and so I'm just standing here playing video games, you know. I like to just stand in the living room and stare at my plasma screen, but she likes to jump on me and get in the videos. I do have a kitty tree back here, but man, this is a tough space to be in. Let me just pick you up. You want me to pick you up? Come here. You want to be on the internet? I can't do it. I'm gonna hurt my back if I do it. It's like my back is better, but still not in great shape. Oh, this is brutal now, isn't it? We're not gonna have any way to get around this, even with the stun coming down. The double unit from the lookout was terrible. I think we would have been okay if we could have flipped our Vladimir, but we're just too far behind now. Okay, GG. I will say that I still, like, even though Vladimir didn't do exactly what we wanted, I found that I very much prefer Vladimir to playing something like Gangplank. Like, Gangplank, he got nerfed. Like, he used to be a 5/5, now he's a 5/4, and they brought him back to standard and didn't give him that point of health back, and so he just kind of dies to everything. It feels really bad whenever you're trying to set up a Gangplank-based board and your opponent just plays Loyal Badger Bear, right? And so you're like, okay, I'm going to come out here, I'm going to get rolling, I'm going to get my 5-drop on the board, he's going to take over, and then your opponent's just like, LOL, it's blocking Badger Bear. And so a fairly heavy pain point there. All right, into the next battle, though, up against Elder Dragon Morgana. He's got the full 3 copies of Morgana here, which is a little bit scary. I'd rather be up against the Shyvanas and dealing with the dragons as opposed to having that lifesteal monster on the board. And so we'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it shakes down. One of the problems that we run into up against the dragon stack is Loyal Badger Bear, which we've been yelling about for the past few minutes, but then also, if you remember a lot of our Freylord strategies in terms of trying to be strong against the aggro decks like Annie Jin, we would just play extra 2/3s, right? If you remember watching a lot of what I did back during the opens, we would play like the Omen Hawk Yadulski Snow Dogs, but then we would also include like the dog that transforms to have Overwhelm, or we would include the 2/3 that generates the Forge spell. Right? We would try to come up with these clever ways to get 2/3s on the board because they were so good at shutting down the opposing aggro decks. And as we have to come down here and face down things like the Dragon Allegiant, it's a very big pain point to try and fight through this stuff, right? We're lucky enough to snatch up a Misfortune here to help fight through with this board, but it's rough in terms of fighting through if you don't have the Misfortune to throw in that love tap. I think this is fine. The thing I was most worried about here was him blocking Misfortune with the Allegiant and then saving the Scholarly Pioneer for the next turn. It makes sense, this block. He killed the units he could kill. He wasn't capable of killing Misfortune, but I think that he's probably just going to be playing on curve now. So we'll have to see how this looks. I'm just going to go ahead and stun. This just reeks of being a Scholarly Pioneer into a +2/+2. And so we'll just go ahead and get the takedown here while we can. The thing that's going to be painful here is if like we don't open attack next turn, right? If we're going to just go ahead and play the Elegant Edge. But if we play a unit, say we play the Razor Mace and then the opponent plays Morgana, we tend to just lose that game. And so I think we'll just go ahead and oh, sure. Does that change anything? Like, if we draw Nox and Fervor, things change, or if we draw Pirouette, things change, but okay. We can fight through the Morgana a little bit now.
Nice to meet you. I'm Isla.
It's interesting here as well, being able to Pirouette the 1 damage onto the Pioneer, so it just dies to everything. From the love tap. So initially he would just be trading with the Arachnoid Sentry, but now he can't get the trade if he puts the Pioneer into combat. What will be interesting there, though, is we are kind of throwing away a potential double up target. So see how that goes. Says, I see what you did there, Bust. you made it so my unit's gonna die. You gotta just be preventing all the damage, though. Like, the mindset that we typically take playing against decks like Pirates is, you know, if you just don't lose, you'll win, right? If he's able to start being like, Herder, here's a 6-drop that heals 2, and then you get into the next turn and you're able to punch in just like a little bit more damage, right? If he drops the 2 damage dragon now, kills off a Mirai Warden, heals 2, and then hooks in Misfortune. Like, that's what this deck is going to get shutdowns on us with, and so oh shit, hang on, we played this the wrong. We should have played the Razor Mace.
Suffer my fury.
We can still put a block onto Morgana so that she potentially dies to the love tap next turn, but we should have 100% put the 4/4 down on the board. A lot of stuff can potentially go wrong with her here. That was just sloppy. But no, like, that's what this opposing deck is trying to build up to, right? It's got the fucking Elder Dragon in it and like 12 6-drops. As long as they don't lose the game, they're just absolutely gonna win. And so they should just be coming in and spending all of their mana at every opportunity they get. Alright, but easiest open 2024 coming on through. What?
Pain must be felt. Come face me.
Not how I was expecting to see these blocks go. Probably. Oh, the form up makes sense. I was going to say probably look to. I was expecting more of a single combat style of play. But yeah, it would have been tough. Like, if we'd put the Razor Mace down last turn, we probably would have just died to the Morgana in combat. I didn't see what happened in terms of where that +2/+2 came from. But this is a fairly big pain point. We at least get to keep our Razor Mace around. Full clear the opponent's board. We just gotta hope that they're going to start trying to play just like random big dudes, right? The dragon that reduces the cost of cards in hand is fine, but things like the 2 damage guy are problems. There's a lot of real huge pain points here. So let's see if he hooks in the Razor Mace. Doesn't look like that's the angle. I'm not certain how I think of this. Like, losing our big boy would, like, that's the obvious target to take. And so it just has to be. What are we going to run into? It's got to be some kind of stun. It's very odd that his only play for the turn is Screeching Dragon. Just got to have a handful of like strikes and combat tricks or something, right? Like, if you think of your hand as being like a bunch of 6-cost cards, then you would just play your best 6-cost card. It's very odd that he plays a 5-cost here, because so many of the options with the Elder Dragon boons are so good. Now this is just a huge steaming pile of dick. We have to spend so much just to get this dragon off of the board. Game should just be over at this point. We'll see what the draw is for the turn, but getting to hit for 7 does not really sound appealing. Razor Mace comes in. Like, what's the best that we hope for here? He just plays another like giant dragon, and we still hit for the same 7. Like, it doesn't feel very good. That's tough, though. That's the stuff you run into with Pirates now, right? The opponent has a massive collection of heal that you just have to deal with. We probably messed up against Morgana, but I think he gained 6 off of the Morgana. Did he gain 8 off of Morgana? I think he gained 8, right? 3 on the first attack, 8 or 7 on the second, or 5 on the second attack for 8 in total, and then he gained 2 off of the heal thing from the Explorer. It's very tough to fight through. Now is this Norra? Nope, Teemo Lulu. Okay. Norra is the other massive pain point for Pirates to have to be up against. Alright, up against the Yordles. Fairly scary if a 2-3 comes down, especially as we're in this space to where the Demolitionist isn't really cutting it. I think we just have to play the Demolitionist for no damage. Yep.
If they don't break,
It's like I really want to be able to take advantage of this on the future turns. Pepper's back though. She's ready to hang out.
fortune favors the bold.
Good old P-Tash running around. It's interesting seeing them show up. I'm not certain what the Red Pup Games folks are into these days. They were the ones that were just winning all of the opens and everything, and
Path ends here.
with the loss of competitive play, I'm a little surprised to see them turning back up. I'm not certain where they've gone to get their competitive fix anymore. What do you got for us? Here comes something fun for certain. Big pile of spells onto Misfortune. That's okay. Our Razor Mace is still relatively effective, and we should hopefully be able to get a bunch of this Ichor damage churning up. Right, the thing that we're fairly positive about here now is if he wants to take down the Razor Mace, it's going to take like one of these 2 power units and a pastry and another card. Or I guess the thing that would be the worst for us was if they have like a heroic refrain. That would be a fairly effective method of getting the unit off of the board. Maybe we just don't block.
Let the commerce commence.
I think we want to just drop the second Razor Mace. Like, I'm looking to play Razor Mace, play the Elegant Edge, and then be able to use Vladimir next turn. We'll see how that option plays out. He doesn't have the mana anymore to play a Heroic Refrain, so I feel a little bit safer. And realistically, at the end of the day, if we're able to just deal 1 damage to Teemo with the Vladimir, that seems like a fairly decent round. Gonna full block everything here, though. We're gonna throw away the Elegant Edge if we're given the opportunity.
No backing down.
We just need to come out and not die. He's only got 1 card or 1 damage spell in hand. Feels fairly safe. I'm going to go ahead and drop both of these onto Teemo. So this way, like, I don't think there's any removal spells that would just be like a full counter spell on this, right? But the thing that would be the worst for us is if, like, we only target 1, and then he counters it and then gets to keep that Teemo on board. I don't know if we could beat that. And I'm going to add Jagged Butcher for the drain. Give me that 1 point of health. We know we can do it now, right? that was the pain point with the previous hand. Or the previous game, Vladimir not being able to get those drains in. Alright, not bad. Gets him up to a second Ichor. We still have a great blocker, 2 dudes in hand to drop after this. Pick up that ever critical 1 point of health. I like it. So scary, Vladimir. So scary. There we go. GG. Well played. On to the next one. Yeah, that was one of the Red Pup Games guys. I feel like they were releasing a board game here soon. I didn't entirely follow the progress. I don't do nearly as much board gaming as I used to, and so I'm not certain where exactly they're at, but I feel like they had a board game release coming in. The last one I got, I can find it. I still left it in the box. I haven't played it. We'll go and grab it. One of the guys I grew up with playing Magic cards. His name's Jason Hager. He has been developing in the board game space here over the course of the past few years, and his first release was with him and another guy. They released an expansion for Tales to Amaze. Is that the name of the game? Unmatched Adventures, Tales to Amaze. It's the Tesla version of the release. I'll go and grab it here after this game, but that's the last one I've gotten in the board game space. Our board game group has essentially broken up since COVID happened, and it's been a real pain point trying to keep current when you're not playing week in and week out. He was a exceptionally good Jason in that term. He was an exceptionally good magician and card gamer. I've mentioned him on the videos multiple times, but just not by name. he's the one as to where back in the days of the early days of Magic, before Magic Online and before well before Arena, if you wanted to play, you had to play on a game called Apprentice, to where you would. It looks essentially kind of like a very rudimentary tabletop simulator, and you had to go and find games out there on. I'm gonna go ahead and. Do we need to just go ahead and take down this snow dog? I think so. We want to trade for it in the next round, but there was no like ranked ladder. There was no way to get opponents that were on the same level or better than you, and he was the one as to where he was an exceptionally good deck builder. He was a strong player, easily the strongest player in the region, but he also just had that knack for making completely absurd decks. He broke the format many times, and with the release of the verse system, he completely broke the verse system game multiple times on end. But he was the one that would be very problematic in the sense of he'll come up with this great idea, and then he'll get to testing it, and he'll take it onto Apprentice, and then out there on Apprentice, you never really know what you're going to be up against, and so he'd just be playing against a bunch of randoms and completely annihilating them, and so he was just better than everybody, and so he ran into a lot of problems as to where he would think that he'd crafted this amazing deck because he went on Apprentice and went like 90% win rate with it, and then it turned out he was just playing against a bunch of terrible players. But that's one of those things you would see here recently, as to where, you know, whatever deck like Mage and Bea was running around with and making videos for wasn't necessarily a good deck, right? You always have to be critical of these people when they're like, herder, here's a 75% win rate deck. And it's like, well, this is like one of the top 5 players in the world, right out here just running around with this rando deck. It's not really representative of what the normal folks are going to be running into, and that was what I always called as the Jason Hager problem. I'm trying to think if you're wanting to look him up. He won the Invitational for the verse system. I know that he has his likeness attached to a card, and then he also the deck I have in mind. I didn't play a ton of verse system, so it's not super fresh in my head, but I kind of know what it did. Hang on. Here we go. I'm back. Yeah, the Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze. Still got it in the shrink wrap. Still need to bust it out and play with it. But I know one of the things that they figured out in the verse system is that the way the game worked was there was a point in time to where your opponent would draw a card, but you were able to play abilities before they were able to do anything. And so what essentially happened with the deck that they were able to assemble was your opponent would draw their card for the turn, and then before they were able to do anything, you were able to make them discard the card. And so they designed the deck to where your opponent was just literally able to do nothing. Like literally able to do nothing. I remember them assembling the deck and preparing for the Pro Tour and going to the event, and then going up to the head judge and saying, "We need you to confirm that the combo works before we actually get into the event. We can't get into round 1 of the event, drop the LOL, you're not allowed to play the game today combo onto the opponent, and then them have to call the judge, and then some low-level judge be like, no, the combo doesn't work." Like they had to go and speak to the judge right from the get-go and have him confirm, yes, the combo works. And I'm fairly certain they won that Pro Tour. Like handfuls of them. But
Hello, new best friend.
My best dragons.
also with him, I feel like
You call that
I know there was the Elder Scrolls game. The last time I've ever seen anyone play the Elder Scrolls, I'm pretty certain that it may have been a Worlds, or it was some type of Pro Tour type event. And I'm pretty certain that Jason was, I don't think he won it. I think he was in the top 2 or the top 4. And that's roughly where I turned it off. And then I think he was on the development team for a while. He got paloed in terms of the development team, to where when Palo is the number 1 Magic prize winning player. He's on the Hall of Fame and everything. He came on to LOR as one of the developers, and then like 6 months later the game shut down. And so really unfortunate for Palo. I feel like the same thing might have happened to Jason with the Elder Scrolls, as to where he jumped onto the development team and then they went under. All right. Well, we'll jump back into the game we're playing in the active one. We're back up against the Dragons. Not looking that good, right? We're running into this wall of 2/3s. He's had reasonable amounts of interactivity. We're going to make these attacks. He's not going to lose enough units to make these other units effective, and so really going to struggle within this one. Maybe we'll be able to pull something off here if, say, you know, we drop a Legion Grenadier. He takes the point of damage on this turn. Then we get the double plundered fearsome elegant edges, and then get to chunk in for our lethal in the next round. It's a bit of a stretch, but maybe, right? Maybe. His attack right now doesn't look very good, so we might be able to get something happening in that space.
They are nothing.
Right? Nomming on them baits right away. Nomming right on them. Feel like it's probably not going to matter, but this is the kind of thing we need to go right to be able to take this game down. Can't add the arena's greatest though. If he gets to just, we make this attack and he just plays a dragon, things are done. And so
You're no dragon.
what is kind of interesting here is if he gets overly clever with his mana spend, we're going to have double Ichor on him, assuming that this combat works. If we can get him to 4 Nox and Fervor and then have the Ichors finish off the game, I'll have no complaints about that. So he goes for a single combat. We can look to say Nox and Fervor onto Shyvana. I think this is our biggest shot at dealing damage. Right, this gets in 1 extra point of damage, and then more importantly, gets that additional Ichor in hand. Right, so now he's got to pay a fuckload of mana to get this thing out of hand. He can't afford to do it this turn. Might be able to have something go right in this space.
I shall show them what it is to fall.
All right, we'll have one final story of Jason before we get out here. And so back in the days of Magic the Gathering, like we were playing together in high school, and he was older than me, but when I was in high school, it would have been something around like Mirage Block, I believe. I think that's the appropriate kind of timing for this thing. And maybe it was a little bit before that, but where this knowledge is going, where this piece is going to be, is it was in the times of like Shivan Dragon being a really heavily priced card. Like this was like Shivan Dragons were maybe like $20-$30 a piece at the time, and it was such an iconic card. Everyone loved it and everything. And Jason got the brilliant idea that he was going to print up a bunch of Shivan Dragons on his printer at home and make a bunch of proxy versions of Shivan Dragon. And then him and another buddy were going to start playing a game. And whenever Jason lost, he was just going to get really mad at his Shivan Dragons and start tearing them up and throwing them away and stuff. And it was uproar. Like, this is what, you know, the TikTok pranksters are really shooting for these days and trying to generate their content. And it was ultimately super successful. People were out there going bonkers over the over the destruction of the Shivan dragons. He's like, "Why don't you give them to me? Why don't you just give me the Shivan dragon? You didn't have to tear it up." So, fond memories from the youth. All right, well, we'll see what we can do here. Looks like we're going to fall a little bit short in this game. He should be able to just dump these Ickers before things end. I was hoping we might be able to finish this off before Shyvana hit the board, but you can see the exact problem you run into playing against the Elder Dragon deck here, as to where he played a bunch of random 2/3s, they 2-for-1 us over and over again. He plays the big dragon, gets the 2 damage shot, gets the challenge, gets the 2-point heal. There's just too much to actually come in and fight through. And so it's tough. It's a tough day for the Pirates, right? There are certainly formats to where Pirates can pop off and be strong. I have, high expectations and high hopes for Pirates in this meta, or I should say Noxus aggro in this type of meta, with the strength of the Arena's Greatest and the Blighted Battle Axe, but it just does not feel like a good one. Like, I knew that this was a problem in my playtesting and coming into the video, as to where the Morganas are a huge pain in the dick. The Elder Dragon's a huge pain in the dick. Norra's a huge pain in the dick. The Stellacorns are a huge pain in the dick. The only thing that you're really kind of like happy to be up against is the Hecarim decks. You can tend to be fairly decent against those because your width lets you block the units that matter, and they don't really want you interacting with them, but you kind of force them into combat with their units. And so you have a bit of viability there, but against the remainder of the decks, this deck just isn't that strong. And so, to me, if you're looking to be in the aggro space in this world that we're in right now, you have to be able to either go heavy with the stuns, and so using something like Annie Jin, or you have to be in Freylord, taking advantage of all the various snow dogs and everything, because there's just such a brick wall with all of the Elder Dragon Morgana decks, to where if you can't aggro early and then like negate their Morgana, you just can't beat those decks ever. And so the deck is just so well tuned at shutting out all of the aggro decks that it's a huge pain point for this kind of thing. So we'll see. I don't expect Pirates to be that real for the next 3 months until the next rotation comes in, if ever. Maybe Riot finally put the final nail in the Rising Tide's coffin 3 years later, and so it doesn't feel good. It's a bummer to say, but it doesn't feel that strong to me right now. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So if everyone enjoyed the video, hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. You had a good time watching. This is Busted Me. Thank you for being here.